Hey, I'm Mark,
And I'm Craig.
and this is Songwriter's Tales. And today, Craig, we're talking to an old friend, somebody we've both known for many years. And why don't you tell the good people who we're talking to today?
You betcha, Mark. We are talking to a fellow named Kevin Doherty, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. And we go way back, almost 30 years, back when you and I were part of the Nashville Songwriters Association International. Kevin was hosting. And what we would do, we would get together with local songwriters and we'd play our songs for each other, and then we'd kind of critique them. And then we'd go out to Nashville and we'd learn all about the business. Kevin's been a wonderful friend. He's actually professionally an attorney, but he wears many hats. He's just recently had a song cut with a major artist because he's a songwriter. And it's going to be wonderful to talk with Kevin tonight. Also, we're going to be talking about AI.
Let's do it.
You only get the copyright because you're telling a particular specific story, and not just one line.
Well, honky tonk, badonky donk might be one of those that you could do that with, right?
Yeah, maybe so. Now,
Okay.
there's trademarks and there's all sorts of intellectual property besides copyrights, but we probably don't want to get into that right now.
Well, that's interesting that you say that about lyrics, though. So you're saying the lyric as a whole could be copyrighted. Does it come down? Because I know in melody, wasn't it 5 notes that are the same? Or
Believe it or not, there's absolutely no black and white defined test. And the same thing with lyrics. I mean, if you copied a line from a song, if that line was recognizable and clearly important to the song you took it from, that would probably be infringement.
Gotcha.
Is that a jury? Is that a jury thing?
Ultimately goes to the jury.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we rely as lawyers more on case law and decisions that have been decided than anything else in terms of what's infringement.
So that means, Craig, you're going to have to scrap Hey Jude, because I think people are going to kind of know you stole that from somebody. Your version is pretty good.
Darn.
Now, there are some exceptions to copyright, such as parody, fair use.
Right.
So,
Well,
So
you get a little bit of leeway.
Well, where do you see AI? I mean, obviously, from a legal standpoint, I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, it's the end of the world." The same people that said the drum machine was the end of music for drummers, but I've also heard people say, it's going to end basic composing in sync because people are just going to, a music supervisor is going to go create their own thing rather than look for that. But I've also heard people who are in the business of sync saying they don't have time for that. They are so busy, and there's going to be a backlash where people want the human element and people want the, oh, that sounds too perfect. Where do you, I mean, as well as anybody else, give us what you think.
That's a tough question.
I know.
And I don't necessarily have the answers on that. I do
just
think
your opinion. Just your opinion.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to have a huge impact, especially, and there may be people who lose their jobs and lose their ability depending on where they are in the food chain. At the end of the day, I think AI is going to be a tool, and I think I don't think the human element will ever go away. That's my personal opinion. And at the end of the day, to write a melody and a lyric and a song that really moves people, it's hard to imagine how you do that without the human element. I mean, AI might help you get there. It's sort of like, back in the day, I think every songwriter I knew carried around a thesaurus, right? Rhyming dictionary, whatever. Maybe it's like that. except
Mhm.
a lot more powerful, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, right.
We were talking with Rex. One of the things that I particularly have been focusing on a lot is sync, the movie
Right.
soundtracks, TV soundtracks. In fact, Steve Dorff was on the show just recently, and I was talking with Ed C out there in Nashville, and Ed's a producer for those that are listening.
I know,
Eh,
Ed.
yeah, you know Ed, and um, in fact, I called Steve because Ed said he and Steve were working in the studio together because he was mixing some things for Steve for some soundtracks because he's famous for that, Clint Eastwood movies and all that stuff. And when we had Steve on here, he's using AI for different things. He's getting productions out of it. And then he's taking it and pulling it into his studio and pulling parts out and rearranging things. He's a freaking genius, first of all, and just doing all that. So I was talking to Rex out in LA about the sync situation and Penn Music Group, who does a lot of that. And 5 months ago they were no AI, period, no way, get out of here. We're not even going to listen to it. And of course, that's changed. Now, you cannot use an AI voice, an AI created voice. And from my understanding, this is my simplistic analysis of it. It's because a songwriter, when you get a song for sync, well, you got to get all the musicians to sign a release. You got to get the engineer. You got to get the producer, which is usually
Mhm.
yourself. You got to
The
get
label, the publisher, yeah.
Yeah.
everybody to sign off to release it for the movie. Well, that's fine as long as the musician is there to sign off. But if there's no musician to sign off and the singer isn't even a real entity, you can't do this. So they're not even sure how this is going to play out. I think they're more afraid of 2-3 years down the road, all of a sudden Suno and all these AI generated, productions are going to come back and go, by the way, you owe us a couple of $1 million because you use this many of our songs and our singers. They don't know it. Do I have that right, Kevin? Or
I am not familiar with the Suno contract, and
Mhm.
I suspect that there's nothing in there that gives them the right to what you create using their software. I mean, I think it's nothing different from utilizing, Hammond B3 organ in the old days made a
Mhm.
particular sound that you couldn't make before. Does that mean they've got, royalties on the music that's made? No. Um, you know, Guitar effects. You
Right.
probably have used a lot of guitar effects, Craig, when you perform, and those effects are going to change how it sounds. Um, it- uh, those effects companies aren't getting any royalties now. AI, again, I don't know. I'd have to go look and see what the Suno agreement says when you're a subscriber.
Mhm.
yeah, that's the
But I
thing. There's a
can't
big
imagine it could be
brouhaha.
any. Yeah,
They,
it
November.
seems
I
to
think
me.
they changed their ruling and they changed some things in November. If you'll look into that, then we'll
I
bring you
will look
back
into it.
on and we'll
Sure.
clarify it all.
Yeah,
So
it's something that I'd be interested to know. So
yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of people are going to want that information. Let's see, Mark, what you got, dude?
Well, I want to hear about your cut. I want to hear,
Yeah.
tell us how you got, well, obviously you talked a little bit about the song, but talk about the songwriting, where the idea came from, and then kind of take us on the journey of how it ended up on, a major artist's, release that just came out.
all right. Well, and all credit goes to Jamie at this point for singing it, and she did a monster job on it. She's one of the best voices I've ever heard.
Agreed.
Um, eh, I wrote that song with Bob Regan several years ago. I was working on a political reform project, which was based on nonpartisan activity, and it was supposed to be sort of a fresh idea. And that song was sort of the song that it was my idea, and I asked Bob to write it with me, and he agreed. because Bob and I were of a like mind about those kind of things, and it felt like a great song. We had the original demo we did was fully produced demo sung by Ward Davis. And Ward, I don't know if you know Ward, but he's a fabulous artist, great voice, and he and Bob are close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went in the studio, and Bob and I did a we did a acoustic version, duet.
Hey everybody, Craig with Songwriter's Tales with Mark and Craig. Just wanted to let you know episodes 25 and 26 are now out on YouTube and Spotify. You're going to want to check these out. This is Jamie O'Neill, a singer and a songwriter from Nashville who has had hits, and she's got a brand new album out. Check her out. Episodes 25 and 26.
And I sat down with Jamie a couple of years ago and played her a bunch of songs. And honestly, this was the last song I thought she would want to record. I said, will you go in to see an artist in your mind? This is the best song for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right.
She didn't, that's not what she thought. And the funny thing is, she wasn't impressed with the full-blown demo, which was a rockin' great cut, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
She listened to the acoustic version of a guitar and Bob and I singing, and that's what she told me. That's what she wanted to cut that song. I mean, she's
That's
such
incredible.
a better singer than we are. That goes without saying, but I think it has a fresh message, which today is even more important and valuable. It's about people realizing that they have more in common than they have different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about being positive and looking forward and forgetting our political differences and actually working together.
Yeah.
What's the title? Give us
It's called
title.
Change It Now.
Change It Now. Yeah.
We can change it now.
Yeah.
Kevin, as you were saying that, we were talking to Jamie, and I think because she's a songwriter, I think she didn't want to hear all the icing and all that. She's like, let me hear the song. And it doesn't surprise me that some people just want to hear what it would sound like fully baked, but I think her being a songwriter, I think she just wanted to hear your guts,
I think you're right. I think a lot of artists who maybe aren't writers want to hear, they want you to bring in a demo that sounds like something that they're going to cut.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly like, and sometimes the cuts don't sound that much different from the demos.
Mm-hmm.
But a true artist goes beyond that and wants to take the song and make it their own, which is what she did. I mean, first of all, I never imagined writing that song that it would be sung by a woman.
Isn't that funny?
It just wasn't, I don't know, maybe that's my bad, but I just didn't imagine that that's a female song. Well, it is, obviously.
Well, it's a human song. It resonates on a human level. And that's a good lesson, actually, for people, because you think, God, this would be a great song for Chris Stapleton. And
you never know.
You never know who's going to hear it and go, oh, man, that resonates with me. That hits me right in the chest. So
you know what, guys? This what we're talking about right now is something that I love about the music business and I hate about the music business. Because, when you're trying to be successful, you're trying to figure out how to, get it done. You got, you go, well, if I do this and this and this and this, normally in almost any business, if you just follow the pattern, you go to school, you get your degree, you get a
You'll
higher
have some
degree.
level of success.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you will. Not in this business, baby. I mean, Rex will be the first one to tell you, if anybody tells you they know what's going to work, they're lying.
Some of the greatest songs in history were written in 45 minutes.
It's a fact.
There are just great examples. You just don't know.
Were passed on by everybody in town 5 times before somebody heard it and said, damn, I want to cut that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So
I think was it Tony Arata that said everybody passed on the dance?
I think that's
no,
true.
everybody just kind of
That's
went,
nice.
oh, that's okay. Yeah,
That's
he
nice.
played it for
They
all
all
his friends
passed
and
on
family.
Garth too.
Yeah, they did. Man, I mean, the Beatles, I mean,
Right.
on and on. But that's the frustrating part about it, is just thinking you got it figured out and you just don't. Because it's such an emotional thing. You're dealing with people, even the executives and the decision makers. It's all emotion, whether they admit it or not. They're going, well, that'll make me some money. That'll do it. But there's an emotion
You
there, and
don't
they got to
know.
be in the right space at the right time with the
Mhm.
right thing. But it works for you when it works for you, and it just makes you crazy when
I
it's
think,
not working.
like advice that I would give to young songwriters, first of
Yeah.
all, write what you feel,
Yep.
write what moves you, and also write a lot. I think on many, to the large extent, it's a numbers game.
And right with other people.
I heard Jesse Alexander, who wrote "I Drive Your Truck," and she told the story that she said, if I remember this correctly, she writes about 180 songs a year, which is, I think she said that number. I could be wrong, but it was a big number. And when she wrote that song, she thought, it's just another one of those 180 songs.
An
But
exercise.
yeah, you never know.
You don't know. You don't know. Well, man, I think we've just about covered everything. We are so glad you took the
It's
time.
nice to reunite with good old friends. I mean,
Man, it's so great to
fun,
see.
man.
Congrats on the cut, man. Well, we're coming to Nashville in April, so let's
Yep.
plan on doing a breakfast or something.
You let
man.
me know the days you're here as soon as you can, and I will block the time and not fill it.
You got it. You got
Love
it.
to, man. It's great to see you.
Well, likewise.
Awesome. Thank you,
All right.
Thanks,
brother.
guys.
See you, man.
He's written songs for George Strait, which is I Cross My Heart. He's written songs for Lee Greenwood. He's written songs with Eddie Rabbitt, Every Which Way But Loose. Through the Years with Kenny Rogers. You got to know this guy, Steve Dorff. This man is on our episodes 10 through 13. He's also written theme songs and movies and TV soundtracks, Growing Pains, Clint Eastwood movies. Go check him out, Steve Dorff.